You're listening to The Western Rookie, a hunting podcast full of tips, tricks, and strategies from seasoned Western hunters. There are plenty of opportunities out there. We just need to learn how to take on the challenges.
Hunting is completely different up there.
I've harvested 26 big game animals.
You can fool their eyes, but you can't fool their nose.
300 yards back to the road turned into 3 miles back the other way.
It's always cool seeing new hunters go and harvest an animal.
I don't know what to expect.
If there's anybody I want in the woods with me, it'll be you.
Welcome back to another Western Rookie podcast brought to you by GOHUNT. Today, I've got Koby Owens on the podcast, and we're going to talk about some cool adventures because you have been all over the place. Is from what I gather from the content you produce and you put out there, there's very few adventures you probably haven't done already. And you're not a very old dude, so you've definitely been putting miles in lately.
Yeah, I got a lot of miles on the feet and a lot of miles just flying all over the world in the last couple of years. Blessed to do what I do, but it was a grind to get here. So I'm excited to chat about everything.
Well, before we get into the journey, let's start with where here is. So you're a producer, and I don't want to really speak too much for you, but you know your full-time job is being outdoors, right? With some type of camera.
So currently I am the content producer at Weatherby FIirearms in Sheridan, Wyoming. That's where I've called home for the last, today is 10 months actually. So I grew up in western Montana, Deer Lodge, Montana, born and raised there, and grew up hunting, fishing, just loving the outdoors. But recently got a full-time role producing all Weatherby's content here in-house. So it's been a really good move for my career and just life in general.
So full-time in-house content producer. So you're running around with camera. Is it both photography and videography?
Yes, it's both. Literally everything that we produce content-wise, every photo asset, every video asset that we need, I'd say about 90% in charge of, because we also have a social media manager, DJ, and he runs a camera too, and he's progressed over the last 10 months quite a bit. And so he does some of it, but I'm the guy out in the field getting all the photos, videos for every product launch we do. So say we're launching a new rifle, we need a launch video. It's probably going to be featured in a film because we're bringing it on an authentic hunt to gain the good authentic imagery of it out in the field for the launch of it. And that's also part of the field testing of it. So that's another cool part of my job, is I get to kind of help field test some stuff that's going through the ringer. It's been developed and it's gone through a lot of stuff, but then this is that in-field on an actual hunt thing. And then bring it all the way back to like the white background product imagery done in a studio that if you're scrolling through our website, you're going to see those photos. So it's every aspect of every image or video that we need. Like I spent all day today down in our manufacturing facility filming stuff for a rifle launch that is coming up here in into April. I keep saying April for some reason, August. I never know what day of the week or month it is since I'm on the go so much, I feel like.
That's wild. So how did you get into just not photography, but just producing content? Is it something that you were, graduate high school, I know what I'm going to do, I bought a camera and I'm going to school to be a producer? Did you just have a passion for it and you found yourself here? Because I'm guessing there's not a lot of jobs like yours out there in the outdoor industry. There's a lot of photographers and videographers, but not, I feel like, a lot of like a salaried in-house position. I feel like that's rare to find.
Yeah, there's not a whole lot of companies that do it this way. I mean, like Stone Glacier's another company that comes to mind who's done it this way. Sitka has an in-house video guy, but they use a lot of freelancers. But no, I didn't. I had no idea what I was trying to do when I graduated high school. Like I said, I'm 25, Graduated high school in 2017, and growing up, I was hunting, fishing, and just loved outdoors. And all I knew is that when I wanted to do in life is work outdoors in some capacity. So when I graduated high school, I decided to go to Montana Western in Dillon, Montana, and I was going to play football and study environmental science and geology. And I had picked up a camera in 2015, spring of 2015, and so it's at going on 9 years now, I guess.
Yeah.
And I accidentally, I was trying to take photos of the northern, or not the northern lights, of the Milky Way, just night sky with my mom's camera, and I accidentally took a great photo of the northern lights. I looked to north, I'm like, oh, it's the northern lights, and took this sweet photo, and I just was hooked from that moment. And so I got my own camera, and then went to college and was playing football, met some good buddies, and then after a year I was like, you know what, I'm missing out on a lot of the outdoor stuff, so I'm not going to continue football, and we're just gonna start taking this camera on adventures. And I switched my major to business, was still doing geology, was just like, I don't know what I'm doing with life. And I went to school for 3 years and then left during COVID. Went back to Deer Lodge, and I grew up building houses with my dad, so went back to doing that and started my freelancing business, because I had been, over the last couple of years, in that part of my life, I'd been working on my photography skills. And so just kind of kept evolving, started that freelancing business in 2021. And then, it took till the next year, I think, is when I did go full-time freelance. I still did concrete on the side to make a living, but I was, for the most part, just devoting everything I had. And that's one thing that I noticed is once I went all in and fully committed to it, my skill set, my connections, and all that just exploded and went exponential. So, if you're hesitating on going all in, it might be a hunt out west, and you're like, oh, maybe this or that, Edmonton Hall. If you go all in and give it your best, odds are it's going to turn out better than you could have imagined.
Yeah, I need to get you on our other podcast. We have an outdoor entrepreneurship podcast that I produce as well called the TWOBUCKS podcast. Because I named it that way because it was about the 2 bucks I care about most, the kind that grow antlers and the kind that pay for them.
Yeah, that's awesome.
And so, that'd be a great story to share on that podcast as well. But so all of that, I think is very common in a lot of people's story. Man, I don't know what I want to do. I tried this, I tried that. I accidentally stumbled across this thing, and I really love it. And that brought you to Weatherby. How did you make that initial connection? I'm sure it wasn't just going to some job fair in Deer Lodge and a Weatherby booth.
No. It's all about building those relationships. And I've talked about it before, where you want to build the relationship before asking for the transaction necessarily. One of the earliest relationships I have was with FHF gear. And I just connected with Rick over there, Rick doesn't work there anymore. He's since moved on, but I connected with him on Instagram and just saw he was kind of doing their photography and this and that. And so I started just kind of commenting on his photos on Instagram, and we chat every once in a while. And the first Western Hunt Expo I went to, we'll talk about that in a second, but I went over to their booth. He's like, hey, Koby, how's it going? One of the first things he said is, he's like, dude, we're getting so busy. We need someone to do photography for us. Is that something you can do? I know you're a great photographer. And so because I was built this relationship with someone within a brand, and was just, created that relationship. Then when he saw me and he knew my work, it triggered oh, Koby can do this for me. He seems like a great guy, right? So if you build that relationship before asking maybe for a transaction or pitching a project or this or that, there's just a more authentic transition that can happen in my mind to being able to do that. So over time, it was just building a lot of those types of relationships. with MKC, with Onyx, just companies like that, and trying to get them to sponsor films and or photo projects and stuff. And I'll say another thing is I've actually only been doing video for just over 2 years. I am a photographer at heart. My eye is my biggest asset. I do have a very good eye for seeing things. Like I see life in photographs and stuff. So capturing video wasn't hard in the sense of capturing the shot, but the technical side and all that jargon and learning all that was a big barrier to entry. I didn't even know how to switch my camera to video mode. And then once I did, it was just learning by failing. I failed so much. The first 2 films I did, I actually turned down a job with Remy Warren. Like they reached out and seen if I wanted a job, and I told them, no, I'm not your guy. I don't even know how to do video. And then full circle, 2 years later here, I just went on a hunt in Arizona with him and his camera guy, Chris Ock, who was the one who reached out, and Adam Weatherby. So it's wild. That kind of triggered me to be like, okay, I got to figure this video thing out. Yeah. But back to Western Hunt Expo, I think that in-person interactions are one of the most important and biggest things. That FaceTime with people and actually showing someone who you are, rather than just a two-way conversation on DMs on Instagram or email or whatever it is. Getting in front of people and also being able to present yourself and your work in a unique way. You know how many marketing directors are going to get a business card and just think about it? I got something right here. So I made photo books to pitch myself at expos. I went in, and this was my 2022 year in review. It wasn't even some non-hunting stuff. And there's backpacking, and then there's projects with buddies. There's paid client projects in it. So you come into a brand and you're able to physically show them this and not leave them with a business card and show them a couple photos on their phone that they might lose interest in very quickly. It doesn't necessarily have to be a book. Another year, we did a brochure for a specific project, a pitch deck that we actually printed out and could, if a brand was really interested, leave them. So it's coming up with unique ideas to stand out and show your talents and market yourself in a unique way. That's huge. I can't express that enough.
Yeah, that's awesome. So when you got in the door, so you started making the network, which we're big proponents of on the TWOBUCKS podcast, building your network. We like to say, we stole this from Eric Clark, but we like to say there's an infinite return on a relationship. Everyone talks about your ROI on an investment, but on a relationship, it's infinite. I mean, you just keep building relationships, keep meeting people. So you got the foot in the door, you got to Weatherby, and so now, what's it like, being that in-house content producer? I would imagine it's chaotic. You're going from working behind a desk with 4 monitors one day to the next day you're on a flight to some remote destination.
Yeah, that is pretty wild because I'm still making the adjustment, because the last year of freelancing, I was kind of I have a topper on my truck. I built a drawer system. I was kind of living out of that. I was kind of living at my family cabin, crashing my parents here and there. So I had the ultimate freedom. I wasn't making a lot of money. I was fine with it. I was happy in life, and that's what I had chose, but I had the ultimate freedom. So now I still get to go to epic places and do epic things, but I have that 8 to 5 job, at desk job every day when I'm not out and about doing that. So it's been an interesting transition, but it's also for the best. I could not imagine a better spot to be in life right now. Weatherby as a company is truly an amazing culture that they have going on here. It's just over 140 employees, and it's a very tight-knit group. And, just seeing today, when I was down there, everyone giving each other a hard time and helping each other out along the way and assembling rifles and seeing all the little things and how much pride goes into assembling the safety and painting that little red dot there, or sponge painting the stock and then passing it on to the next person to put their touch on it. Like, the touch points that go into making these rifles is truly incredible. So you see that side of it. And then on the other side is I get to go with Adam and Brenda Weatherby, or my boss Tyler and Luke, to these epic places to get that rifle out and get the content on it. Just a couple I've done in the last couple months was we just did Arizona elk in the middle of July. And then we did, I did Alaska bear hunt with the Hush crew. And then my bosses, Tyler and Luke, and that was on a boat, and you're fishing for halibut and rockfish and stuff. And then you're going on to beaches to chase bears. And that's actually going to be a film in our Weatherby Film Festival coming up here next Wednesday, July 31st. And then before that, we did New Zealand. And that was a dream of mine, to go to New Zealand for specifically fishing brown trout, which I wasn't able to do this trip, but just to go there in general. So, I've been to Alaska twice since I started, and just got to truly continue exploring the world how I love. And then I've always said, like, yeah, I do hunting specific content right now, but I just enjoy documenting people doing what they love in the outdoors. So it's at the heart of my work. That's what it is. And so I've got to continue doing that, and meeting amazing people on the way. Like, the Hush guys and Remy Warren they are who they portray themselves to be. They're salt of the earth people who are just genuine, and they give back, and they're enjoyable to be in the field with. So being able to come in as someone who, watched them for a number of years and kind of grew up with that, and then being able to get out with them in that aspect and be like, yeah, being able to tell people that they are who they say they are, that's been pretty cool as well.
Oh, I completely agree. I mean, I've got this last year, we went to the BHA National Convention because it was here in Minnesota. And so I'm meeting a lot of people that I've either seen on TV or been hearing on podcasts for years. And it's kind of surreal, even though you only get maybe a beer or two to talk to this person, or, in between seminars, you get 15 minutes. I can't imagine what it's like to go on like a 5-day hunt with some of these people. Because I feel like when you travel with somebody specifically, you connect on a much deeper level. Like, there's no one else to talk to, yes, right? You're on a road trip. But then when you go on a hunt with somebody, I mean, you're like tied to the hip with this person. Like, your success is their success. Your failures are their failures. Like, your team, even if you're the camera guy, if you can't keep up, like, now everyone has to slow down for you, or same vice versa. And I feel like that's where you really, you're going to find out the true nature of a person on a New Zealand hunt, or an Alaska trip where it's raining and you're wet, and everyone, I mean, we've all been on these hunts. Everyone knows, the hunt isn't the type A, experience, type 1 fun the whole time. Usually it seems like there's a lot of type 2 fun going on, where it's an amazing experience when you look back on it. But in the moment, there's a lot of suck that goes on. And so I'm sure when you're with these people, you get to really get to know them well and connect on a completely different level that you're not going to get, in the office at the water cooler.
Yeah, no, precisely. And that's another thing that I've always, since I started doing this, that is one of my favorite parts about my job is, being a young man and still learning on how I want to formulate my life, is I get to hunt and spend time with a week at a time, maybe it's 7 days in the backcountry with someone who has 20 years on me in life, and I get to pick their brain on just life in general and take little bits and pieces from all these individuals I've got to hunt with over the years. Yeah, some of them might be influencer hunters or whatever, but maybe it's just, a 45-year-old dad who owns a construction company and hired me because he drew a great tag and we spend a week in the backcountry together. You know, just even people like that have just as much to offer. And so being able to, you know, document these experiences for them and create this imagery that they'll be able to have for the rest of their life, but then also create a connection and become friends. You know, my buddy Wilson, I got to film him and his buddy on an archery elk hunt in Idaho a couple years back. And we just kind of became buddies after that, kind of stay in touch. And then he had me out turkey hunting in Idaho, and I'd never turkey hunted in my life before. So I've turkey hunted one day, and it's the only thing I've ever shot out of the state of Montana so far. And it was a good experience. It was fun, but then come down to it, and I got this job at Weatherby, and one of his best friends lives here, and I couldn't find a place to live. It took me 2 months to find a place to live. So he connected me with his buddy here, and I got to crash in their basement that they're remodeling for 2 months. And they're remodeling it, so they didn't charge me. So I gained not just a friend, but that connection. You never know how that's going to pay off down the road when you're in need, and you've made that good friend, and somehow they come through for you. And, you know, I just hope that I can pass that along someday too.
Yeah. I feel like there's a lot of people you could let live in your basement.
Yeah.
So you said 10 months, so it looks like you kind of formally started with Weatherby. I'm sure you were doing some freelance work for them before, you know, working into this.
Not at all.
No, really?
If they're 100% in-house, we don't have anyone freelancing for us. The only stuff we'll use is like some stuff from Hush or Remy or Gritty, because they're, you know, brand partners with us. But no,
so it was like,
their previous content guy just left them high and dry early September, right before hunting season. Is like,
well, that's what I was doing the math. I'm like, so they're like, hey, welcome to the team. Pack your bags. We're heading out. I mean, it was.
Yeah. So I applied, and how I got the job is kind of wild. One of my mentors, Isaac, he actually is an industrial photographer, shoots like Kubota and Leatherman and more of that type of stuff. Not even in the hunting space at all, but he's a very important person in my life for mentoring me to get to where I was. And him and my boss Tyler just happened to be connected on LinkedIn or on Instagram. Like, don't know each other personally, just, you know of each other through the years. And so Isaac has shot Weatherby for years, you know, like guns. And he calls me, he's like, hey, Weatherby's hiring and you are applying for this job. I'm like, oh, okay. You know, like I guess I'll throw my name in the hat, you know, likely shot that I get this job. And they called, and I got 2 different interviews with them. And after the second one, I had just gotten done with one of my biggest freelance projects yet. It was just me and some buddies who came up with this project together. Logan Romney, Kincaid Smeltzer, Raiden, and I did this long deer hunt and got out of the backcountry, had my interview that morning, and I shut my laptop. I'm like, I got that job. I crushed that interview. I knew I got the job as soon as the interview was done, because I just really crushed this interview. I've never really done job interviews before, but I did good. And then they called me that night, and they're like, can you start next week? I'm like, well, actually I can't. Because I had been paid out on freelance projects for the fall already. And so I had to finish like 2 projects, and then I came for 2 weeks, and then I'll fly out and do another project that I was already paid on and stuff. But yeah, it just kind of happened.
Wow. So busy first year, I take it, from the stories. So what has been your favorite like outdoor adventure with Weatherby since you've started so far?
You're gonna make me pick a favorite? Oh man. Oh.
Or like what? Maybe like the land. Like you're the guy with the camera, so it doesn't necessarily have to be like, oh, this was the one we shot the biggest animal. But like,
no, not at all. Like
like what was the most fun for you as the producer to go on?
Man, there's been so many. I think that I did the math like a month ago, and I think I'm somewhere around 14 or 16 hunts in 10 months.
Oh my gosh.
So
how much content do you guys need? I mean, it's a lot. I
Look
know
at
it's
how
a
many
lot.
new rifles we've released since
Yeah.
I showed up. My second week of work was 4 products in 5 days that we had 0 assets on, and that was a busy week of work.
Well, yeah, and
I
it's
loved it. It hasn't slowed down since I started, and I
I'm
love
sure
it.
it doesn't last very long. Like once they post it, it's like, okay, that piece is done. What do we got next? You know what I mean?
Yeah, another thing is they didn't have all that much banked before I showed up. You know, nothing against the guy before me. The guy before me was good at what he did, and he was definitely a better at building films than I am. You know, that's where I have a lot of room for growth. We'll get back to my favorite trip in a second, but you know, on the imagery side is like I pride myself in that, and so we've been able to create a big bank of content that is going to last us. You know, we can pull from it any moment. Yeah, we posted a lot of it, but we can also pull from it. And the social media manager position was also brand new, like a month before I showed up. They didn't have that before, so that's been a huge help, and we've really hit in stride together and taken our content to another level. You know, that's what we're working on. But you know, favorite trip, you know, I think everyone would expect me to say New Zealand, and it's hard not to. But this Alaska bear boat fish hunt that we just did was one of the most fun weeks I've had in life. It was truly an incredible week with just really good people. You know, I'm very fortunate that my direct boss Tyler and then the COO Luke, his direct boss, are just the best people to work for, but also to be out in the field with. And then, like I said, the Hush guys are the real deal. We were with Casey and Brian, and then Logan and Matt, and it was just truly an incredible week and an unreal landscape. So I think I'll probably have to pick that one, but the other answer I have is the next one. The next one is always my favorite. So
yeah, I mean, that's cool too. 14 trips in 10 months. And so when you're doing these trips, like, how are you? I feel like it's got to be really hard between like sitting back and like enjoying the experience and like, oh shoot, I gotta take this picture. You know what I mean? Like, I feel like it'd be very easy to get caught up in like what's going on and forget that you're supposed to be capturing what's going on.
Yeah,
at least maybe that would be my problem.
A little bit. I think the harder part about it is, do I do video or do I do photo? Like at that moment, right? Because I don't have a trouble of like documenting it, because like if anyone ever
everyone's got their
in the
thing
field with me, is like I'm just like like I said, I see life in photographs. I'm like, oh my god, that picture right there, or this. Okay, pull your binos up again and turn to the left. You know, like I love authentic imagery, but when you see something and don't quite capture it, it's like, yep, okay, pull your binos up and go to the left, or okay, walk this ridge line on the pack out, you know, type of deal. There's a little bit of staging to it, but I try to just capture things as they come and be as authentic as possible. But if I could just be a photographer, I would just be a photographer. And so that's one of the hard things, is like, it is probably a 60 to 65 video heavy job over photo. Yeah, we need the photos, but like video for release videos for films is just like, it just seems to have not a priority, but a more of a like, takes more to make that than, you know, the couple images I really need to get. But yeah, going into these shoots, it's like, all right, we need this rifle. We'll do like a content brief from the website guy, the graphic designer, and the social media guy, and they'll list out what they need. They might throw some picture examples in on like, I like this angle of rifles a lot. Oh, we need some stuff of our Peak 44 tripod. We need to shoot some reels on this. So it's building that out before you ever get out in the field, so you're able to capture it more easily.
Oh yeah, that makes sense. I mean, the little bit of stuff that I've done for the podcast and stuff, and different like mini projects, if you will. Like, I don't get hired by anyone to do products. I'm learning more and more with the camera all the time, especially for some of the sponsors. I just kind of throw in some like help, like, hey, if you need something, like I'm not your plan A ever. Like you want a better plan A than me, but if you need like something, the one thing I do is have a lot of time. I work from home. I don't have kids. Like I can shoot this thing 12 times over if you're not happy with it, and we'll get there, right? And so I've offered that, but yeah, when you go out with a shot list of what you need versus like, oh, I think I can just figure it out, it never works.
I will say, when I was just doing photography, I never once made a shot list, though.
Yeah, you just see what's cool.
Like I said, I documented things as they came, and I felt someday I will get back to that in the future. And I mean, number of years down the road, I'm sure. Like I'm very happy with where I'm at, but someday be able to just go on a project and not have that built out and just be able to get back to those roots in a way. But I couldn't do that here at Weatherby. I truly couldn't. That's making that step to the next level is kind of what that looks like. So
yeah, no, that sounds cool. So when you're on a hunt you're the camera guy, it sounds like there's often a lot of people. How do you like balance like getting all of the shots and the angles and like still hunting and being quiet and stealthy and making sure you're not blowing the shot opportunity for the other? Hey, you wait there. I'm gonna run around and get this shot from the other side of the bear on the shore. Oh, sorry, bear saw me. Right, like those types of things. You gotta I feel like that puts the camera guy in a hard spot because it's always the camera guy's fault when it doesn't work, right?
You truly have the hardest job of anyone out there, because I carry a 9-pound Swaro spotter to film kill shots through that I attach my camera to. And so I got all this heavy gear. I bet on any given day, even on a day hunt, my pack's 45 pounds minimum. I ran 89 and 92-pound packs on multi-day trips this year, or like week-long trips. And so you're exerting a lot of energy, and thankfully, like I grew up hunting, so that is what gives me an edge on that is, I know how I need to be quiet and sneak in and stuff like that. But sorry about that. I don't know. I was texting.
No worries.
But it's tough to try and capture that in a unique angle, or like you say, run over here, get this angle, run over here, get that angle. You kind of have to pick your battles on when to do that, right? Is how I look at it. There's certain times that are better to do that. When you're hiking in on golden hour, that's the time to do it and to get those epic shots. If you're moving in on something, you probably just grab more of a generic shot and just try and capture it as good as possible. But I think picking and choosing your battles, and over time, you'll understand when those kind of present themselves, and you're not going to get it right the first hunt you go on, probably. That was another big thing, is when I first started videoing, is I was videoing and I was giving it, the company just wanted that raw video to build the film out of. I never got to build the film. Once I started building films myself, I'm like, oh, why didn't I need these type of shots to help support this part of the film. And so I encourage people, if you are going down this route and companies are just getting that raw video from you and building the film, build a director's cut that you build out so you know what you need so you can get better at that. So that was one of the biggest things I think that it helped me advance in the video side of things, is once I actually started building the films, learning what shots I like, oh, I don't need any of this, or yep, I need some more supporting shots in this, or oh man, like I need a new mic bad. This audio is trash. Audio is king. Audio will make or break your film. I would rather watch a film that is slightly over or underexposed than one with bad audio. Bad audio, I will just check out, and it's still something I struggle with at times. You know, I haven't found the perfect solution yet, and I'm still looking.
You need one big windscreen. That's the problem. Like I've dabbled, and it's always windy in the West. Like it's never not windy, and so you always have the problem with the wind.
Yeah, I don't use lavs at all, but I'm like, literally this last like week, I'm like, man, I think I might dive down this rabbit hole of starting to lav up my
I just got a couple very cheap. Like this would not work for what you're doing, but they're very actually right here on my desk. It'd be fun for like if you're playing around, but these are like Bluetooth lavs.
I have some DJIs. I have the DJI Gen 2s.
So these are wireless, which is nice because you just don't have a wire to deal with.
Yeah.
And then all my projects that I do are at my own house. So all I have to do is plug in the USB dongle to my podcast board, and I can record the audio straight to my podcast board.
That's solid.
Yeah, so that worked out well. But yeah, no, audio, I get what you're saying. Audio is tough. And one of the things I wanted to ask you, so first of all, how are you like one of the only photographers that has high quality pictures of themselves? So do you do a lot of like tripod like work so you can get yourself, or do you hunt with people that know how to run a camera?
A little bit of both. I definitely do some tripod work, and I'm pretty picky on how that goes. But no, one of my best buddies, Logan Romney, if I ever go with him, we're always taking photos of each other. And that's something I do, like on this hunt with the Hush Boys, Matty Ice and Logie and I were all taking photos of each other for each other, because we all know that we're the camera guy and we hardly have any photos of ourselves. But man, if you want to look at someone who does incredible job at self photography, my buddy Joshua Hubbs, and it's HUBBZ. He lives down in Arizona currently, and he's a photographer, and he does a lot of self-documented photography, and he's so good at it. I'm like, dude, you crush it. He uses a tripod for all of it, and I'm like, I don't know how you get all this in focus, but I definitely do some. And then also, if like a lot of the fishing photos of me with fish are like me setting the camera up and be like, okay, like hold the button down halfway. When it gets green, then click the picture, and then like I'll come back and edit them myself. But just kind of getting my buddies who aren't photographers to just take a picture of me, and 1 out of 20 of them will turn out good.
That's one of the things, like my wife really likes taking pictures, and she's actually really good at it. And so I feel like we just need to do better about bringing the DSLR with us on adventures. And I have the same, I don't know what it's called, but I have the exact same shoulder strap that I know. I picked that out one of your, what was that?
Carry?
Yeah, cotton carry. Yeah, cotton carry.
Yeah.
Cotton systems or whatever it's called. I've got the shoulder strap.
The number one photography tool ever. Like when I got a cotton carrier in 5-6 years ago, however long it was, that single-handedly helped me make a big jump in my photography game, because it was out and accessible. It wasn't stuffed in the pack at all times. It was out and accessible, and I could just go, whoop, boom, ready to take a photo. So that's one of the biggest tools I recommend to someone.
Well, here's another freebie. You should get a bunch of, so you can get like disposable shower caps. And they're like an elastic band, and they're super lightweight. They weigh like 0 ounces. We use them for sourdough because you always have to cover sourdough.
Oh,
yeah. So you just stretch it over the bowl. But you could then, I've never done this, but it just hit me. Like one of the other issues is it's always raining. And then like with the cotton carrier, you put your camera away because you don't want to get wet. Well, you can take these shower caps and like just stretch it over quick. And it's like a waterproof little like elastic cover to keep it out of the rain.
Yeah, that's a solid idea. I've never done that. I have a couple other strategies. One's just raw dogging it. I mean, those cameras can take more than people give them credit for. Yeah, when they get real wet and for 5 days straight in New Zealand, they get real pissed at you and start throwing warnings at you, and they'll live. But
But your cameras are probably infinitely more expensive than my entry
Yeah.
level Nikon 3400.
Dude, I started on a D3300. That was my first camera I ever bought, was a Nikon D3300. D33, 34, 35 is what I suggest to most people when they're asking for a starter camera. Also, the Sony A61 or 65 is if you want to spend a little bit more money and get a little better quality because they're mirrorless and a little more modern. Those are the other ones I suggest is A6000 series.
Yeah.
What my rain cover is it's actually a Seek Outside tent bag, like their Dyneema tent bag, and then I actually like seam sealed the tent bag. You seam seal the tent, like I seam sealed the tent bag.
And just stick that over. That would work too.
Yeah.
Yeah, because for a while I just put it in my bino harness and took my binos out, and that kind of works, but it's not the same as the cotton carrier. The cotton carrier is the best, and now when I like shed hunt and stuff, I usually try to put a GoPro on like one shoulder and my camera on the other shoulder. That doesn't work when you're rifle hunting or bow hunting because it's always in the way. But shed hunting, you don't need to shoot. You don't have to draw or shoot, so you can take up both shoulders.
Yeah.
So I'm getting more and more
sheds. You got some beauties back there. It looks like.
Oh yeah.
Oh, I've been eyeballing those for a while.
Mostly whitetails. The elk, those two elk I didn't find. Those were gifts.
Oh, well,
yeah,
they're still cool. But yeah, a lot of cool whitetail there. That's awesome.
Yeah, that's my big thing. So one of the things that I thought was funny. Do you follow Randy Newberg? You're in the outdoor content space. So you've obviously.
I don't actually follow Randy Newberg, but Randy Newberg. Yeah,
everyone's heard of him. So he grew up in northern Minnesota and very strong Native Indian population. Yeah. And whenever like his friends would find antlers, they would always hang them in a tree. Like that's what their culture did. And so he grew up that way. And so his camera guys like Marcus and I think there were some that left before them. When they are hunting somewhere like New Mexico, they'll walk across a giant elk shed, and Randy will make them hang it in a tree as like a sign to like of respect, and so they're like just like walking around hanging sheds in trees when they're like legit shed hunters. I was just curious, when you guys are hunting around, do you ever come across like cool stuff like that as the camera guy? Because you're probably putting on at least twice as many miles as everyone else running around.
I call them cameraman bonuses. I recently found something that I'm not going to talk about on the podcast, but I will tell you afterwards. That's pretty dang cool. But I mean,
can you tell us where it came from?
Arizona.
Okay, I bet I could guess. I won't, but we'll talk about it afterwards.
You're not going to guess the exact thing. You might have an idea what genre it's in, but it's not. It's a little more out there. But I mean, I found a fallow deer shed in New Zealand, and it's the outfitter's going to ship it back over with their Euro mounts and stuff, Adam and Brenda's stuff. So like that, or I'll find them on trips all the time. I found some down in Arizona as well, actually. I wonder, did I? Oh yeah, I put those up already. I couldn't remember if I grabbed them out of Adam's plane. But yeah, I find sheds all the time. I have a pretty good eye for that. I'm a geologist at heart. Like I love rocks, so like I'm always picking. My house is filled with rocks. There's rocks everywhere in my house, so I'm always scoping out cool stuff.
Do you follow like comedy at all? Do you know who Cam Patterson is?
Pardon, but
I like rocks.
Yeah, you have no idea how many people sent me that reel when it happened. I'm like, yep.
And then he pulls one out of his pocket, like
it's awesome.
That is cool. So since you're a geologist, what would be like the ultimate find on one of your adventures? Like you taking a knee, you got this great shot, you look down, like you completely forget about the camera because you found whatever this is.
Oh man, that's a good one. I guess it just depends on the area you're in diverse geology, but for me it's always Indian artifacts.
Okay.
Like I grew up looking for those with my grandmother as a little kid. And she had a big influence on my love for the outdoors. I spent a lot of time exploring the outdoors with her on her 4-wheeler and hiking around growing up. And she taught me how to look for native Indian artifacts, and is what we call them. And so arrowheads, knives, all that jazz. So, I mean, I have a deep love for looking for that stuff. But, I mean, nothing particular other than that. It's like just cool rocks in the area. Like something will stick out. And I like looking at how the landscape was formed. You know, is it glaciated? Is this batholith that used to be a magma chamber type of stuff? Like I like looking at that landscape and seeing how did this come to be and what rock types are in the area and stuff. And so I just like, I'm always nerding out about that. And so much so that like my buddies in college are like, you get 2 rock facts a day. That's it. Unless we want to know something. So
that's funny. Do you ever find, so like, I know there's obviously valuable rocks and gemstones and all kinds of things. Do you ever find something you're like, oh, this is actually like this is a $100 stone that I just found?
No, I don't really get into it like that. I get into them because
like you would never sell it.
I just think it's
like,
cool.
This is super sweet.
Yeah, like I mean, just, like I have a bunch of petrified wood up here. I have petrified seaweed. I have coral that I found like just embedded in rocks, and just cool stuff like that. That's like, oh yeah, this was on the intercontinental ocean this many years ago, or oh, this rock is glaciated. It came out of the Bull Lake glacial period 16,000 years ago type of stuff. Like it's random stuff like that. It's more for me in that I try to take a rock from every hunt I go on. So it's like more for me and kind of sentimental rather than like, yeah, I'm going to sell this rock later on. I'm collecting these rocks to put on my shelf. So
it's funny because my brother's like not quite the same as you, but kind of the same. So he's an environmental engineer, but he took a lot of geology classes.
Yeah.
And so now he also tries to grab a rock from every trip, but he's grabbing like stones, like bigger for his, they have like this flower rock garden at home.
Yeah.
It's all rocks that he's grabbed, but sometimes they're like 15 pounds. And he'll be like, oh, I really want this rock. And so there he is carrying this rock the last mile to the 4-wheeler.
Oh, I've done that. Yeah. I got a couple out on my front porch that are big ones. And yeah, he
wants to find an arrowhead in the worst way. And there's just not a lot where we are because we have so much vegetation that they're not laying out. They're never laying out. And so one year, he's like the same way with arrowheads that you are with like geology facts with your buddies. Like we all know that Dean would faint if he found an arrowhead. And so one year, me and my buddy ordered like 50 of them from Amazon in a bag.
No, you didn't.
Yeah. And so we had this planned out. We knew we were going back to the same unit. And this unit has like this perfect meadow with a stream, with a game trail that's probably like 500 years old. Like this game trail has been going across this stream forever. And every time we stop, he's looking in the stream, he's looking down the game trail, he's looking at the bank of the creek. Like he's like, there's arrowheads here. Like this is where they would have been. And so we were going to be like, oh, this is going to be perfect. Like every time we travel, we're just going to throw one on the ground behind him and just wait. Or like, as the week escalates, we're going to like make sure he finds more and more and more. So he's like, oh my gosh, like this is crazy. I found like 7 arrows. He's never found one. And he goes across the West all the time. Like they do all of their family summer vacations in the West. He goes out West hunting every year. Like he's been out there 50 times and he's never found one. And so like this one trip, all of a sudden he found like 12 arrowheads. And then we're going to have it. So on the ride home while we're eating lunch, I'm going to be like, oh, can you give me a napkin out of the glove box? And he opens it up and finds like the rest of the bag of arrowheads. After he's been like telling us how weak this is the greatest experience ever. We found all these arrowheads. Well, they didn't show up in time from Amazon. They showed up the day after we left.
Oh.
So he got a free pass. But we were gonna mess with him so bad.
Oh geez, that's wild.
Yeah, he would not have been mad. I was thinking about what I would find, or maybe what I would hope you find one day. Imagine the uproar you would find if you found like a dinosaur bone with an arrowhead lodged in it.
Oh dang, that would be insane. Yeah.
You would be like the most famous geologist ever to be like, well, someone was around with these things. Found a 4-inch. What is the Clovis point? Is the big uproar lately? Found a Clovis point stuck in a Velociraptor skull. So
yeah, that would be insane. Who knows? Maybe someday.
You probably won't be able to keep it.
No.
To me, it would be a dinosaur. Like you sit down and you're eating a sandwich and you kind of like snuggle in and kind of make the ground the right shape to make a seat, and then you like stand up to leave and there's like a Velociraptor skull.
Yeah, that'd be
That
wild.
would be sweet. Dinosaur bone would probably be my thing to find. I don't know. We'll see. I think it'd be cool to find something you could keep, though. I feel like I wouldn't be able, like, I don't know what the rules are, but I feel like when you find something that cool, they don't let you keep it.
Yeah, and whoever they are.
Yeah. Oh, sorry. I'm from the Smithsonian, and there's a rule about this. We were elk hunting in Wyoming one time, and we rented this Forest Service cabin, and there's another Forest Service cabin, and there's 3 girls from some college doing their like senior project or whatever, and they're geologists. And we're talking to them, and they're like, yeah, we're out here like examining, things. I can't remember what their project was, but it had something to do with Native American artifacts. And so the dean like perks up right away. He's like, oh, I really want to find one. I've been looking my whole life. And they're like, well, if you find one, you have to leave it there. And
Yeah.
like, okay, yeah, I'm sure going to leave it there. All right. Don't worry. I'll tell you where it is. And so they were like really adamant that like you cannot pick it up. You have to leave it there. And I don't think very many people follow that rule.
No, I don't think so either. Yeah, technically it's like if you find it on public ground, you need to leave it. Like if it's on private ground, like, yeah, you can take it. But it's an interesting rule. Like, I get it if it's like sheds in Yellowstone Park. Like you can't pick those up. You leave them for future people to see. Like, okay, yeah. But I don't know. With arrowheads, it's like they're buried and unburied every year. So it's not like the next time someone walks by that spot, it's actually going to be unburied. So it's interesting. I don't get that one. I don't think many people follow it, but oh well.
I wouldn't. I don't know who's out there prosecuting arrowhead stealers, but I'm picking them up.
Yeah, I mean, there is a big deal of like, in the Southwest, we were actually talking about this on that Arizona hunt. Our guide's buddy will like rappel into, those like cliff dwelling homes.
Yeah.
And like, log the pottery and the arrowheads and all this and that. They have a log on it. So like if it ever comes up for sale and they see it, like they know where it was taken from. But also it's for history stuff too. Like, it's kind of a double-edged sword, but there's so much stuff out there, and there's so much like establishments like those adobe huts and stuff like that you don't want. Those are spots where you shouldn't like just go and take all that stuff that's like, okay, let people come and see it over
Yeah, that's like a historic
different
site.
It's not like
That's
finding
different.
a random arrowhead and
that's like going to the zoo and being like, I got a rhino. It's like, well, that was
yeah, so there are some cases, and it's one of those things, I guess, where it's like a blanket statement, right? It's like, okay.
Yeah. I wouldn't sell it either. I'd just keep it. I'd probably taunt my brother with it and be like, I'd put it on a necklace and wear it all the time. That I found one, he did.
Rub it in.
Yeah, he's rubbed a lot of stuff in. He'll be like, well, I've shot 5 bulls with my bow and you haven't. And I'll be like, yeah, that's true. I'll trade. Yeah. I'll trade you the arrowhead for the next elk shot. So, man, Koby, just like that, it's starting to wind up on an hour already. And before we leave, I did want to get into a topic with you. So, obviously, it's your day job. You live it. You're really good at it. Like, I mean, I'm telling you, folks, Koby's pretty darn good with a camera. If someone wanted to just like go out and take more pictures of their own adventures, and not like they're not pursuing it as a career, they're just like, I want to have better photos. Like we all kind of wish we had better photos of our memories. Do you have any like quick tips on just like how to, get a little better on that? Obviously bringing the camera, step number 1, but past that, like what are some of the common mistakes you think that people
there's a couple
avoid?
things that come to mind right off the bat. One I would say is like look for unique perspective, you know, like get close to the ground and shoot up at your subject, or use a low ground shot to create an interesting foreground to bring your eye to the subject better. Use leading lines. It might be a fence or something. And then just shoot in hours of the day that lighting is just like that golden hour, you know, or more pleasant, you know, if it's overcast, you know, take advantage of the natural light that is provided for you. I think is a big one. And yeah, you might not see something, you might see something really cool and it's not thrilling lighting, and you know, you're just kind of presented that, but use those times of the day to, you know, get better photos. And then another one is, I think that going out with like a plan, you know, say you're going on a fishing trip with a buddy and you're going to a lake that, you know, you're going to this specific lake and it has a mountain in the background. And you're like, I really want to get my buddy out on the canoe holding his fish with this mountain in the background. So go out with a plan and try and execute said plan, and then bring those photos back into whatever you're going to edit your photos on. I use Lightroom Classic personally. And analyze that and be like, okay, I did this good, I can improve on this, and I kind of see this too. So go out with a plan, execute it, and then break it down and see what you can do better next time. It's just going to help you advance on those little things, that rather than just taking a photo and putting it in your phone or something, you know. Have that plan, execute it, and like that's what I did for years, and that's how I got to where I am, is like that exact process right there.
Yeah, I like that. I want to start doing that more. My problem is I'll either be too busy and I'll be like, I'm not bringing the camera, I got too much work to do. A lot of cool stuff's going to happen, but, you know, like we're at the farm, we got to work, we got to do food plots, we got to do habitat, we got to put up some stands. And then, so I won't bring it. And then that's just on me. Or two, I'll do it and I'll take the pictures. Like we had northern lights come through in our neck of the woods not too long ago, and I was taking pictures with a tripod. And then I just like, I never did anything. Like they're still on my card somewhere, and I need to like get into Lightroom and edit them and then schedule them. And that's the part I usually drop the ball on, is editing. Like, yeah, I took the picture. I should really like take the time to, you know, do something with it. And that's usually the part I'll take pictures. Like I'm still trying to post pictures of my like Canadian fishing trip. You know, I don't want to do like a 10 photo dump, because I don't feel like most people see the other ones. Like they see the first one and then they move on. And so I want to like document all of the favorite ones solo, so they stay in my feed. And yeah, I'm terrible. There's been elk hunts that I've gone on that it took me like a year to be like, I should go post some of these pictures from this elk hunt.
Can't say I can relate to that.
Yeah, that's definitely different. I don't think you and I have the same problem when it comes to that.
Yeah, the Grand Ronde River trip I went on this, I will say I have been not as good about editing personal trip photos as of lately. Like it took me two months to edit. I mean, it was also like 7,000 images. I ended up with 450 final edited images from a week-long raft trip. But it took me a while to get to those, and I just got them done and posted like 15 of them, because I'm like, yeah. But no, I mean, it's and then just take more photos in general, you know.
Yeah.
I think is a big one. That's when I started taking more photos, I ended up getting more better photos. That's just kind of how it worked.
Yeah, there's that applies to a lot of things in life. Do you do mostly all short lens work, or do you also bring like long lenses?
I mean, I have a 150 to 600. It's a truck lens more so. It's like bring on stuff, but I have a 24 to 240 that gets you some compression in your work. Compression in your work is good and important for kind of, you know, if you're trying to truly tell a story with like say 5 images. Kind of getting that tight, that medium, and that wide is kind of the 3 essential, like, you know, shots to tell a story per se. So it helps get some compression in my work, but it's not a quality lens. Like it's a $600 used lens. It's not great glass, but it's a very versatile lens. It's very good for filming archery hunts on, so it has its place. My current favorite lens is a 35 1.4 G Master, Sony G Master lens. Thing is butter. I built my career off a 24-70. All I had for 2 years of my career, first 2 years, when I like really got into it, was a 24-70 and a 14 millimeter. That's all I had for a couple of years. And then I bought a 50 1.8 because it's a $200 used lens on Adorama, B&H, MPB, Abe's of Maine. There's all sorts of different photo websites out there for gear, but I think that the 70-200 is kind of an overrated lens, in my opinion. That is a very probably controversial opinion. That is most people's like favorite lens, is they love the 70-200. I haven't really found the love for it. I've recently started using it, but I think that just kind of is use case specific too. Like filming a rifle hunt, yeah, you got to have something. But I use, like I said, I pack around this monstrosity and this massive swirl, and then I have this adapter. My camera actually attaches to this directly and sticks on here. So
so you're always perfectly aligned.
With the Sony A7S III, I'm shooting 240 frames a second, so it's 10 times slow-mo. That kill shots are epic in it. So, some films that I've filmed here are going to start releasing in the next couple months on the Weatherby YouTube channel. So, that's where you can kind of check out the work I've been doing here.
Get excited for season.
Yeah, exactly. So
awesome. That's cool. Yeah, I just rocked the kit lenses. I mean, I got the Nikon 18-55, and what's the other one? I think it's a
70-300.
Yeah, 70-300. And I don't really use the 70-300 anymore for like two reasons. One, it doesn't really get me much. So like I'm in that boat where it's like if it's super close up, I just use my iPhone. For like Instagram, like my iPhone's usually good enough.
Yeah.
For like selfies and stuff. And if it's super long, like the 300 doesn't reach that long, I'll just film it. I have an Ollin adapter for my spotter. Yep. My spotter's the same, 9-pound, but the 60-power spotter. And so it's like long range, that's the ticket. And so like the 18-55 is all I carry, and that's just for that medium range stuff.
Yeah. No, that's not a bad plan. I mean, the best camera you can get, or best camera you can carry around, is the one you're going to use. So if you're going to use your iPhone, figure out how to change the settings in it a little bit to be able to.
That is the one thing I liked about my Android. It let you get really into it, like full manual mode, and I could take some pretty sweet pictures. But the iPhone has nice cameras too, so it just doesn't let you like set your f-stop and stuff like that. You have to like kind of monkey with it.
Yeah.
But it's all right. Sometimes I bring the long lens in the deer stand because then I'm like capturing deer at like 100 yards, and that's like the perfect distance for it. But other than that, I am not nearly as good of a cameraman as I hope I am at podcasting. Like talking to people is my thing. Like I can remember conversations. I'll talk all night long. I'll always forget the camera.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, man, thanks for being here. Koby, thanks for sharing kind of just what life has been like on your journey with Weatherby and starting your freelance career and all the things you've been doing. Before we do wrap up, I know you mentioned the Weatherby YouTube channel where you're getting some of the films releasing coming up soon going into hunting season, but where else can people find some of the cool stuff that you've been a part of?
Yeah, my personal Instagram is Koby.Owens, and that's Koby. So you can hop over there, and then in my feed, there's a number of other podcasts I've done specifically on like photo stuff, maybe on just hunts. I have a link tree in my bio that I think I have a couple films linked in there, maybe not. I don't really have anything on my, I have one film on my personal YouTube, but that was from a number of years back. So there's a couple films linked in my bio there, but other than that, the Weatherby Instagram, you're going to be able to see the stuff that I do for us over here, and then our YouTube will start rolling out a lot more films that I've been a part of here in the coming months. So, yeah.
Awesome.
Appreciate you having me. It was a great convo, and glad we made her work.
Yeah. No, we're going to put links to all those places so folks can go check out some of the work you've been doing. And, yeah, I'm glad to have you here. Glad that we finally found a time to make it work. Hopefully the first time I maybe be confusing two podcasts. I had a podcast lined up. I have a lot of them, so I apologize. Someone ended up on a injury. Was that you?
No, not this time. I am injury prone, but that was not me. No.
Oh, somebody was like, "Yeah, I can't. I'm in the hospital right now. I don't think I'm gonna make it." I'm like,
"Oh, no, that wasn't
don't
me.
worry about that."
Yeah, no. The first time, we scheduled on a Wednesday, and then literally we scheduled it, and then an hour later, my buddies are like, "Hey, beers, boys, bows, and burgers tonight or that night." I'm like, I'm gonna have to push that tomorrow night. Sorry, I got to shoot bows and have some beers and burgers with my buddies. But
yeah, no, that's awesome. My pellet grill broke, but I should do that too. Hey, there's 2 deer right in the front yard.
Would you look at that?
Yeah, awesome. Well, thank you once again for being here, Koby, and thank you for listening.